My name is Annie Hale. Sean Stevens is my husband. On my birthday, I was abducted by thugs and tortured for 3 days and nights. When rescued, I was barely clothed and covered in filth. Sean rushed to the scene, roaring at reporters to back off before gathering me into his arms with heartbroken tenderness. He proposed right then and there. During the drive home, I drifted asleep in Sean's car, half conscious. I overheard his conversation with his personal bodyguard. Sean wasn't dosing Annie and arranging those men to violate her too extreme? Even if you wanted to ruin her reputation for that woman's sake, there must have been other ways. Sean kept stroking my back as he replied calmly. A woman's virtue is her most prized possession. This was the only way to destroy her completely. His fingers traced my hairline. But it's all right. I'll give her the marriage she wants. Spend my whole life making it up to her. That should be enough. Scalding tears slipped down my cheeks as icy despair flooded my heart. The happy marriage I'd yearned for turned out to be my own burial ground. Sean, let's take her to the Stevens Medical Center. Our people there will take her to County General. But the public hospital's swarming with reporters. Those vultures will crucify her in the tabloids. Exactly why we need the crowd. We've come this far, can't fumble the final play. Only like this can Lucas completely give up on Annie, so Lily can feel secure as Mrs. Young. Sean's familiar warmth against my skin now felt terrifying. This car that once held our laughter had become a mobile hell. I finally understood why this golden boy had pursued me so relentlessly after my divorce from Lucas, not out of love, but to clear obstacles for Lily. Both men I'd poured my soul into loving, both obsessed with the same woman. And that woman wasn't me. Nausea erupted violently. I doubled over retching. The commotion woke Sean. Sweetheart? What's wrong? He rubbed my back, reaching for my water bottle with perfectly timed concern. We're almost there. Just hold on a little longer. As we passed the Stevens Hospital entrance, his arm tightened around me. Darling, our family doctors simply aren't qualified enough now. I've booked the top specialists, we'll make sure you recover completely. His tender fingers brushed hair from my face. The epitome of devotion. I stared at this master manipulator who'd orchestrated my ruin. His every loving gesture suddenly grotesque. The water I'd swallowed turned to acid in my throat. Don't worry. I'll keep the reporters behind us just like before. A soft kiss landed on my cheek as Sean spoke. I turned my head toward the car window, sighing silently. What could I possibly say? For 3 years of marriage, I'd been Sean's caged songbird, my only semblance of control being the 7-figure monthly credit limit. Everything else had long slipped through my fingers. Forcing a faint smile, I answered, all right. Whatever you arrange. My usual docility pleased him. He shifted slightly, glancing at the rearview mirror where Jim drove. Jim, protect your sister-in-law at the hospital. Their eyes met briefly in the mirror before Jim nodded. But that lingering second glance he threw me spoke volumes, the guilt of a man still clinging to his conscience. The car soon entered Capital City's top-tier hospital, swarmed by reporters and onlookers. Stepping out, I was immediately engulfed. Sean and Jim positioned themselves as human shields. But 2 men couldn't hold back the tide. Within minutes, Jim vanished beneath the crowd. Cameras jammed against my face as reporters fired questions. Mrs. Stevens, dare we ask if your abduction on your birthday resulted from dressing too provocatively? Mrs. Stevens, your husband claims no harm came to you. But those marks suggest otherwise. Is he lying to protect you? Will this incident change your marriage dynamic? Should Mr. Stevens continue loving you after this disgrace? Wouldn't his mercy demand lifelong repayment? Each word stabbed deeper. Watching Sean desperately fend off the pack, recalling his earlier instructions to Jim, hot tears spilled. The man I'd entrusted my life to had become the architect of my ruin. How bitterly ironic. Curled on the ground like a stray dog, I endured trampling feet and flashing lenses until Sean's roar, Jim, get up, reanimated his accomplice. Their choreography was flawless. I'd accompanied Sean through countless media storms. I knew the drill, silent compliance sufficed. The press would spin their preferred narrative anyway, the promiscuous socialite versus her devoted tycoon husband. Tabloids feast on such tales. The reporters naturally didn't dare provoke Sean. After his furious outburst, the crowd gradually dispersed. Sean immediately helped me up from the ground, brushing off the dirt while murmuring, "Baby, don't listen to those people. This changes nothing, I'll only love you more." He then turned and kicked Jim. "Jim, I told you to protect your sister-in-law in the car. One more screw-up and you're gone, back to the countryside." Useless. His acting was truly masterful. Hospital specialists were waiting to run a battery of tests. Hours later, doctors pulled Sean aside. While Jim went to pay fees, I eavesdropped at the door. "Her uterus is destroyed. She was already pregnant, no chance of future children. The psychiatry team says her mental state has deteriorated, hallucinations. Fear of touch, far beyond PTSD. Control the media narrative to prevent further harm. The Stevens family can manage this." My knees buckled. I'd been pregnant when it happened. Sean didn't just ruin me, he killed our child. Stumbling into the hallway, I collapsed. Soon, Jim's voice echoed, "Sean, it worked. She can't have kids. But we didn't know about the baby, another life on our hands." After heavy silence, Jim stammered, "The reporters, should we still let them publish?" "Yes." Their footsteps faded. Numbly, I accepted an animation studio's overseas job offer from 6 months ago. A flight confirmation arrived, 2 days until freedom. Love's cage without love is just chains. Sean called frantically, "Where are you?" "Outside getting air." "I see you." "In the car." He crushed me against his chest, "Never scare me like that again." I bit back tears. At home, Mrs. Stevens arranged flowers in the garden with Lily. "Darling, Mother insisted on visiting. Lily studied psychology, she'll help you talk things out." If asked who Mrs. Stevens despised most, my name would top that list. So of course she wasn't here out of kindness. The moment I stepped out of the car, Mrs. Stevens marched over arm in arm with Lily. Her face twisted in contempt. "How dare you show your face here after being defiled by another man? You should have just died out there to make room for Lily." Sean pulled me into a protective embrace. "Mom, must you always mask your concern with cruelty? If you care about Annie, why not speak gently?" Mrs. Stevens yanked her sleeve away with a scoff. "Care for her? Not in this lifetime. I came to discuss your divorce plans. I want Lily as my daughter-in-law." She shoved Lily toward Sean, admiring them like artwork. "Look how perfect they are together." Lily pressed herself against Sean's chest. He protested weakly. "Mom, Lily's a married woman," yet leaned into her touch. Their cozy tableau made me nauseous. "Sean, I'm tired. Enjoy time with Lily and your mother." Already ensnared in Lily's orbit, Sean barely grunted in acknowledgement. From the balcony later, I watched Lily cling to his arm. Mrs. Stevens' shrill voice carried, "Make that trash leave the Stevens family immediately. Let's finalize your wedding plans once Lily's rid of her useless fiancé." Sean gazed at Lily with desperate longing, but her evasive expression darkened his eyes. Too drained to watch, I collapsed into bed. At dusk, Sean's raw voice pierced my door, "Lily, you can't imagine how happy I was when Mom pushed you toward me today. I've dreamed of that moment forever. I can have anything, except you." Peeking through the crack, I saw Lily cradle his face. My poor Sean. I never expected such sacrifices for me. Their frenzied kiss tore at my soul. When Lily ripped open Sean's shirt, I shut the door on their passion. Minutes later, guest room moans triggered violent retching. Ramming my forehead against the wall brought only fleeting relief before darkness swallowed me whole. Finally feeling a bit better after that episode earlier, I turned to stare at my disheveled reflection in the mirror and burst into uncontrollable sobs. I remained sitting numbly in the room until dawn. Sean never returned, while muffled giggles kept drifting from the guest bedroom next door. As daylight began filtering through the windows, The door creaked open. It wasn't Sean who entered, but Lily. The woman laughed uproariously at seeing me slumped on the floor, pointing an accusatory finger at my face. Lucas loved you so much once, didn't he? All it took was one crook of my finger to get him into my bed. What does it matter that Sean married you? He still slept with me right under your roof. Annie. I've always hated that haughty look of yours. Now you're just a slut everyone despises. Her shrill voice echoed. Did you know Sean arranged your assault fully aware you were pregnant? Yet he showed no mercy. While you were bleeding out, he was teaching me golf swings at the country club. My perfect drive happened right as your screams filled the air, such beautiful music. Her words struck me like lightning. Sean had known about the pregnancy all along. Not only had he allowed this venomous woman to destroy me, but he'd sacrificed our child too. Lily paced before me wearing that smug look of someone who'd gotten their way. I lunged at her throat before I could stop myself. But my weakened body betrayed me. Sean! She shrieked before I could tighten my grip. The door flew open as Sean barged in, shoving me to the ground while cradling Lily protectively. What happened? I thought you came to help Annie through her trauma, Sean demanded, his arm around the sobbing woman. Lily sniffled dramatically. I only wanted to guide her through therapeutic recollection. I never imagined she'd try to kill me. Annie. Sean's glacial stare cut through me. I don't understand this hatred you harbor. Lily came here out of kindness. And this is how you repay her? You make me sick. He swept Lily into his arms, pausing only to let her shoot me a triumphant smirk on their way out. Tears soaked through my collar as I surveyed the home Sean and I had built together. My hollow laughter echoed off the walls when I caught my ghostly reflection. This broken creature wasn't me. Everything had been a lie. If they wanted war, I'd give them one. With trembling hands, I dialed a long-unused number burned into my memory. Sean felt immediate regret after storming out. Perhaps he'd been too harsh, especially since Lily appeared unharmed. His doubts resurfaced when she started pestering him about limited edition handbags before they'd even reached the car. Sean hesitated for a moment. Remembering Annie's usual obedience, he gradually relaxed. At the mall, while Lily was distracted, he called Jim. He instructed Jim to check on Annie's status at home. After hanging up, Sean felt completely reassured. Jim could handle anything involving Annie. The entire day unfolded like a romantic date between Sean and Lily at the mall. As dusk fell, Lily finally complained of exhaustion. Back in the car, Sean checked his phone and froze, over 100 missed calls from Jim. His chest tightened as he returned the call while starting the engine. Jim answered instantly, panic straining his voice. Sean. Annie's gone. And the billions in liquid assets from the corporate account vanished. Reporters are swarming headquarters. Sean's vision blurred. Calm down, Jim. Explain properly. There's no time. Jim's words tumbled out. Annie's disappeared across the city. All our liquid funds are gone. The shareholders are at the gates demanding answers. And the media. Sean hung up mid-sentence. In 15 years, he'd never heard Jim this unhinged, not even when ordered to kidnap a pregnant Annie. The missing billions could be managed with his life on the line. But the media exposure? Stevens Group's hard-earned reputation for integrity would shatter. This scandal could destroy their decade-old foothold in the market. And Annie. How could she vanish under Jim's watch? The man had underworld connections to find anyone. Those leering faces from her previous kidnapping resurfaced in Sean's mind. Had Jim botched the cleanup, letting those thugs return? He gripped the steering wheel. First, contain the corporate crisis. Then, he'd tear the city apart to find Annie. Sean slammed his foot on the accelerator, speeding toward the office. Lily in the passenger seat remained clueless about the commotion. Business matters were beyond her. She'd faintly overheard someone mention Annie's disappearance through the phone. Recalling their morning confrontation in Annie's room and the girl's fragile state, Lily felt a thrill. Her carefully planted words had taken root. With Annie gone, both Sean and that other powerful figure would focus entirely on her. The image of New York's two most eligible bachelors vying for her affection made her preen. Sean sensed Lily's suppressed smile. Before he could question it, her manicured hand slid across his thigh. So frantic over Annie's little tantrum? She purred, feigning a pout. Should I be jealous? This charade had played out countless times before. Lily's mock jealousy over his performative concern for Annie used to delight him, a twisted consolation for being her secret lover rather than lawful husband. Today, the act grated. He shifted slightly away. Lily's hand snapped back as if burned. Pull over, she demanded, ice-coating her words. Sean knew the drill. Lavish compliments or a six-figure wire transfer usually smoothed these theatrics. Instead, he swerved to the curb. Get out, he said, staring straight ahead. I've got real problems now. The slammed door echoed behind his screeching tires. For the first time in years, Sean breathed freely. His trembling fingers dialed Annie's number repeatedly. Meeting only robotic voicemail. Memory surfaced. Hazy recollections of his wedding year. Stumbling home drunk from some deal. Annie had draped his suit jacket over her shoulders. Whispering, "You're married now. Remember? Call me next time." Since that night, her phone never slept. The empty highway stretched before him. Dawn painting Manhattan's skyline. Somewhere in those steel canyons, the woman who'd built her life around his convenience had vanished, along with every excuse he'd ever made. Annie Hale had rushed out countless times in the dead of night to bring Sean Stevens home when he drunkenly called. Their social circle always marveled at his perfect wife. Yet back then, Sean didn't care at all. His heart was still chained to his unrequited love for Lily Harper. He even convinced himself that Annie must be after his wealth and status. Objectively, her expenses over 3 years couldn't rival Lily's daily extravagance. She never burdened him with family matters, and he never bothered to call her parents overseas after their wedding. The traffic light suddenly turned red. Sean slammed on the brakes, and his mind was suddenly flooded with these fragmented memories. The glowing corporate tower ahead brought him back to reality. This wasn't the time for reminiscing. As his car entered the corporate gates, Sean froze. Every major and minor media outlet in the city seemed to be there. Reporters swarmed his vehicle as soon as they recognized his license plate. Through the crowd, he saw Jim Wilson desperately trying to reach him, his voice hoarse from shouting. With board members waiting upstairs, Sean gritted his teeth and opened the car door. The media frenzy was nothing like the controlled press conferences he was used to. Flashbulbs blinded his eyes as vicious questions rained down. Mr. Stevens. How could the Stevens Group's funds vanish overnight? Does this prove you've abandoned shareholder interests? Doesn't this financial anomaly suggest insider fraud? Is this the end of the Stevens Group's credibility? How can investors trust you now? Eyewitnesses saw you shopping arm in arm with Mrs. Young at the mall today. Care to explain? Your wife's absence says a lot. Are you dumping the woman you publicly vowed to cherish for another woman's bed? Sean's retinas burned from the camera flashes. The bitter aftertaste of Annie's recent media crucifixion suddenly became vivid in his memory. The reporters gave him no mercy, and their questions became even more brutal. These reporters used to cower in his presence like mice before a cat. Yet now that the Stevens Group was in trouble, they immediately seized the opportunity to bully him. The image of Annie curled up on the hospital floor resurfaced in Sean's mind. Back then, he never imagined he'd experience the same humiliation days later. A bitter laugh escaped him. Was this karma? The angry shareholders waiting upstairs for explanations made his head throb. Jim finally fought through the crowd to reach him. Sean stumbled behind Jim, shielding himself as they pushed through the chaos toward the corporate lobby. Jim kept sighing throughout their retreat. They barely made it into the elevator with security holding back the reporters. Sean leaned against the metal wall, watching the shouting journalists disappear behind closing doors. His trembling hand gripped Jim's shoulder. Any news about Annie? Jim turned slowly, shaking his head. We've got every man searching Jing City. Nothing so far. The elevator dinged as it reached the penthouse. Before the doors fully opened, Sean heard the shareholders' furious shouts. He punched the elevator wall. Why did everything go wrong at once? Straightened his rumpled shirt and stepped into the storm with Jim. 7 hours later, I landed at El Country Airport. My father stood waiting with Kev, Jim's identical twin brother. Yes, I'd known both Wilson brothers for years. Our family had sponsored these twins' education 2 decades ago. While wild-spirited Jim dropped out early to follow Sean in Jing City. Book-smart Kev earned his PhD through Dad's support before becoming his right-hand man. Kev's economics degree barely scratched the surface of his skills. The man could hack NASA between breakfast meetings. My emergency call had reached him just in time. Draining Stevens Group's accounts without trace took him less time than most people need to brew coffee. I knew those missing funds would bankrupt Sean's fledgling empire within days. Truth is, I recognized Jim the moment I met Sean. When Sean first revealed his plans to Jim that day, Kevin was the first to notify me. But the overseas call took too long. By the time I got the message, it was already too late. Sean had planned everything meticulously, keeping Jim in the dark about the details. In the end, I couldn't escape Sean's clutches. Jim helped me leave the capital via a route Sean would never suspect. Heading straight to the airport. I knew Sean trusted Jim enough that buying us a few hours was possible. Annie, trust me. I'll make Sean pay. Stay here and let me handle the rest, my father said, his warm embrace steadying me. Over the years, he'd kept a low profile in El Country. So few knew the true scale of his business empire. Throughout my marriage, Sean had dismissed me as some middle-class nobody, never bothering to look into my family. My father, who'd had me in his 40s and cherished me like precious jade, had bitten his tongue for my happiness. But now the storm was coming. On our way home, Kev glanced at his phone and turned to my father. Mr. Hale. The Stevens family's in chaos. The media frenzy's gone nuclear. Shareholders have been camped out at Stevens Tower's penthouse for 24 hours straight. That bastard's days are numbered. I opened my news app to screaming headlines. Stevens Group in free fall. CEO Sean Stevens accused of embezzling billions. Shareholders betrayed. Corporate lies exposed. Sean Stevens' empty promises. We demand justice. Federal probe launched. Stevens CEO facing prison time. In the darkened car, my father's voice rumbled. Any loose ends? Kev? Clean as a whistle. Untraceable. Good. Keep the pressure on. This is just the beginning. My father took my hand gently. Sleep, Annie. Tomorrow begins your new life. Though exhausted, I lay awake watching shadows move beneath his study door all night. Strangers came and went as I compulsively refreshed news alerts. The hammer fell at 1:17 a.m., smoking gun. Sean Stevens' affair with young heiress Lily confirmed. Insider, Sean personally ordered wife's torture despite her pregnancy. Monstrous acts. By dawn, every screen in the city blared Sean's downfall. 30 minutes later, the final nail, Stevens Group stock crashes 89%. Executives flee country. I watched my wedding photo flash across newsfeeds. The diamond ring on my finger glinting like broken glass. The headline blared, Stray Dog Sean Stevens attempts escape. Cornered and beaten by outraged crowd outside corporate headquarters. Accompanying images and videos showed Sean in janitor's clothes cowering in a corner, surrounded by people of all ages kicking him violently. You monster! They screamed. Abusing your wife. Killing your own son, you don't deserve to live. I froze watching Sean look up at his attackers with genuine fear in his eyes, an expression I'd never seen from the once untouchable tycoon. My hands trembled as I replayed that moment repeatedly, savoring his downfall. Media outlets fell silent for hours before midnight updates exploded. Stevens Group chairman Sean and mistress Lily Harper found dead, identities pending confirmation. Within minutes, Sean and Lily confirmed deceased. Naked bodies discovered in unmarked graves by villagers, severe trauma evident. Blurred photos still revealed their soiled, battered forms. 2 hours later, Mrs. Stevens plunges from rooftop of Stevens Tower after son's death, skull shattered on impact. I sat drenched in sweat, compulsively refreshing these reports until dawn's light revealed Dad at my door. Annie? His arms enveloped me as I rushed to him. Saw the news all night. Didn't you? He murmured, patting my back. Dad. I was terrified for you. His laughter rumbled warmly. Silly girl. I'm untouchable. Kev materialized behind him. Mr. Hale. We've located the ones who hurt Miss Annie. Your orders. Jim's flight leaves today. Have him bring those animals back. As Kev left, Dad wiped sweat from my brow. Annie, your new life begins now.